What's up, everybody? We got a big weekday close out of the quarter. A lot of things going on with a lot of money on the line, and we're seeing some signs of some pretty good price action that might be pushing into July. So if you're ready to get this going, everybody drop a 1 in chat. I want to see everybody that's here pre-stream before we get going. Everybody drop a 1 in chat. Are you feeling grateful? I know I am. We've had a lot of stuff going on. Let's get into this. We got some charts to cover. We got some things to break down. Let's get in this together. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. Let's go. Bitcoin price action fighting to break into that range that we're looking for to see price action push up. We're seeing a bunch of altcoins also setting up, also already having a little bit of that breakout, actually front running Bitcoin a little bit here. What are we looking for as July comes to fruition as we wrap out Q2 with over $9 billion of options expiring today? Are we going to see relieved sell pressure? What coins should we be looking at? What's going on in the chart? So with that being said, everybody, welcome to the show again. My name is Kelly Kellum. We got to talk about what is going on here in the market and what's happening in regards to this price action. And of course, we have to address, at least at minimum, the conversation that happened last night that's kind of left everybody flummoxed here. So before we dive in, I want to see everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. We got about 23 people in the room. I would guess we're going to have about 150 here in just a moment. So let's go ahead and talk about what's going on in this market, because we're seeing Bitcoin still fighting its way to get back in this range. Yesterday, we considered that we had this Adam and Eve pattern, which is now sort of in some ways being invalidated by this continuation sideways. We saw a couple of attempts by the bulls to push this up, seeing the price action push up into this neckline and come back down into this almost neckline, but coming. Is this a final washout? What do you all think right now? Everybody that's tuned in, everybody that's here, do you feel like we're going to have another washout before we have price action go to the upside? And also throw a 1 in chat if you think we're going to have a bullish July. Throw a 2 in chat if you think we're actually going to continue a pullback through the end of the summer. Throw a 3 in chat if you have no idea, but you're here to figure it out, because that's okay. That's what this is about. We are a community. We are doing this together. We see 100 people just popped in here. So everybody, let's talk about what's going on here, because when we're talking about the price action, what's going on, we have to realize it feels like nothing's happening, but price is still hovering up near, a little under, but near this 2.3 trillion mark. In the last 24 hours, we can see, so let's actually go to the watch list here, so it's not just random coins, stuff that we're really paying attention to. We got Ordi Swap up almost 18, 19%. Hydration, remember this video I did last week? Up 14%. Checks, we just talked with the co-founder of Checks the other day, up 13%. Then we got Mint Layer up. What kind of losers? We got Purify down 12%. Fetch having a little bit of a pullback as we push in closer to that ASI merger date. And then, of course, Singularity also down 8%. Proppy down 5%. We're seeing, I mean, all in all, I would say we're seeing the markets relatively flat, as this is, what did I say? Throughout this week, we're going to watch for some sideways price action due to uncertainty because of the conversation last night, with the two players, Biden and Trump, and of course RFK as well. But then also that GDP data that came out yesterday. We had the PCE data come out today. But then we also have that $9 billion option expiry that is going to basically come to fruition towards the end of the day. I do think that as this month wraps up into Sunday, that's also a quarterly wrap up. The first half of the year is done. I do think we're going to start seeing some price resolve to the upside. That does not mean Monday or by Monday it has to happen, but I do think over the course of the next 2 weeks, we will start seeing a resolution, regardless of where this is, whether this pushes down further or continues chopping sideways, which would ultimately be more bullish. I do think that we're going to see price action move to the upside. Now, why is this? Because if we come over here and look at some of this, we got to address the conversation last night. TXMC trades here has a great point. He says Trump, Biden, Gavin Newsom, Mickey Mouse. It literally doesn't matter. The U.S. is running a $6 trillion deficit to achieve 1.4% GDP. When the economy weakens, the state will spend even more to achieve even less growth. This is what the story of the difference between Bitcoin and its understood, programmed, scheduled supply. Everybody understands. Every 4 years, we get a reduction in the new supply that comes out. We have a fixed cap on how much Bitcoin is there, whereas what's happening right now with the U.S. and the governments around the world is this money problem, debt problem. And as debt rises, how much money is needed to service that debt reduces, basically shrinks the margin of basically capital that can actually be actively involved in the economy and actually growth. We have a debt problem. This is one of the reasons why Bitcoin is such a beautiful alternative to the world order as we see it. But when we're talking about all this stuff, we talked about PCE, we know that was coming out today, but we're seeing this without even knowing what the number is. Let's just look at how it tracks over time. From Kathy Jones, retweeted by Caleb Franzen here. And Caleb has been calling this for a year and a half, 2 years straight about this idea of disinflation. And this is what we're seeing. This is actually bullish in the long term for what we're seeing, but it's all going to depend on how the Fed reacts to what happens here. So it's just a data point we need to be paying attention to. But then where are we at right now? Well, when we're looking at, not even looking at the charts, when we're looking at the sentiment, when you are investing, when you are trading, when you're actively involved in trying to make money in this market, you have to understand what the sentiment is between the bulls and the bears. Fear and greed at levels not seen since Bitcoin was 25,000. See how deep this fear went? Look at where price was all the way back over here. When we look at, what was this, July, August 2023. When we bring that back over to the chart, we see, okay, let's go to daily. We can see, what is this, June, July, August. This is that point they're talking about. The fear, the mechanism, the move that they did to try and get people committed short, those that were paying attention and bought the fear rather than selling it, were able to take advantage of this move all the way up here. That's 187% move to the upside from that fear reading. So this is why we need to pay attention to this narrative between the bulls and the bears in the market, because it tends to be a signal of achieving what these market makers wanted, which is getting people, as many people as possible, shaking out as many weak hands as possible. And this is what that mechanism of fear does. And we tend to see, as this relates to where we're at on price action, when you get these deep levels of fear, tends to be pretty close to or mark regionally where a bottom or reversal could come in. So how's everybody feeling today? How are you doing? Are you feeling grateful? Are you feeling flummoxed by all these nonsensical conversations and political jockeying and all this? Hey, let's talk about the markets. Let's talk about what can we do as individuals? What can we do to improve our family? What can we do to improve our future? How can we help better? That's what I'm in this market for. I'm in this market and I'm in this community with all of you to figure out how we can affect. We have a chance right now to affect and change the pathway of our future just by how we choose to act right now. Are we going to be a sheep acting fearful like the people that lose money? Or are we going to be a shark that can take advantage of the situation, not take advantage of other people? You have to realize markets are an organism. You have to think of yourself as an individual looking at the organism of the market, and how do you want to interact with this? This tells you this is where people lose money. But the inverse of that is this is an opportunity for you to take advantage of. And how does this relate to what we're seeing on price action? Well, first off, let's consider what the big money's doing. This is from CryptoQuant. They say right here, when ultra long-term holders sell Bitcoin, currently ultra long-term Bitcoin holders are not sending Bitcoin to exchanges. Ultra long-term Bitcoin holders want a stronger bull market. This is incredible considering where we're at with the price right now, and everybody's wondering, is it going to go down? Well, looking at previous cycles and understanding the regularity of the cycles in Bitcoin, coming back over here to the BLX. The BLX is essentially an aggregate. It's Bitcoin. It's the Bitcoin price aggregated, looking at across many different exchanges and price points to get a fairly accurate reading of what's going on. Bitcoin halving. What do we see post-halving each time? And what did we just have on April 19th, which was roughly about right here, option V? This is what we're looking at as in right here. This line is where we just had the halving. We've seen upward price action when you zoom out, but when you zoom in, you have to realize when you zoom in, it wasn't all, butterflies and rainbows. This sold off immediately after the halving, 15%. It pushed back up another 17, 18%, and then immediately sold off another 12%, then had a nice move up. It was 32%, 37% move to the upside. And then that immediately followed by a 21% move to the downside, chopping the life out of people that are not prepared. So when we see what's going on right here, when we see its previous all-time high, I know you've heard this before, but we got to address it because even myself is feeling a little frustrated with what the hell is going on because I need the price to go up now. If you need it to go up now, you're only going to get yourself in a situation that you give it to somebody else that actually gets to ride it up. Yeah, so as we're seeing where we're going right now, we see what's happening with the price action. We talk about what's happening with PCE in favor of what's happening, positively with the economy. We see the fear setting up right now, and we can see that the long-term holders, super long-term holders, who tend to take profits, they start moving coins to exchange to sell into the strength of the bull run. Look at where this started right here. This is roughly just after breaking through the previous all-time high. Similarly, if you can't see it on this chart, but this is similar to when we broke past the previous all-time high roughly here. And then you start seeing the ultra long-term bulls moving to exchange and selling. We haven't even gotten there yet. We haven't gotten to that part of the market. So shout out to everybody that's here. I hope you're all having a wonderful Friday. Does anybody have any exciting plans this weekend? Are you going to get out of the charts? What are you going to do? Let's see. Let's get that final look for the week. I do have a video that'll be coming out tomorrow on another project I think everybody should keep their eyes on. So make sure you tune in to the BitLab channel tomorrow about 10:15 a.m. Eastern time. That will be coming out. But let's talk about what's going on with price action right now. We got 177 people in the room. Hope we can see. Let's get up to 100 likes. Let's get everybody hitting that like button, letting YouTube know you like this content. We're talking about the fear and greed. We're talking about PCE. We're trying to figure out what's going on with price. We're scared because we see, Kelly said, this short-term holder cost basis is a very important metric in bull trends. Well, when we look at what's happening in this cycle comparatively with last year, we've talked about this throughout this week. We're seeing very similar price structure that we saw back here in basically April through August. Nice move to the upside, up around $30,000, back down to that 24, 25, and then back up to 32, and then back, just chopping. But we also had the first deviation here below. Look at what we see right here. And then we got the second deviation below that actually lasted some time. This is where that fear hit, I think it was like 28 or 30 on the fear and greed index. Now we're getting that secondary dip below as well. It's crazy how these things are lining up on a time basis. It may have something to do with summers being a little bit less volume intensive with the institutions and et cetera. But whatever it is, we're seeing something similar play out right now. This does not mean the bull market's over because we broke below this, because we've seen this before. They're trying to do everything they can, even breaking some traditional norms that we've seen in Bitcoin and in the crypto market. But remember, we have traditional asset, traditional finance, legacy finance players that are in this market. Now, they're not paying attention to the short-term holder cost basis. They're looking at things like the 200-day moving average. So yes, we've broken below the short-term holder cost basis, but this is currently par for the course for what we saw last summer. Now, when we come over here, and let's go ahead and turn on 4MA, the 4MA. Let's go on the daily. This is the 200-day moving average. You see on the short-term holder cost basis, we've dipped below it. But in this case, we've actually come down and found support above the 200-day moving average. We also had a little bit of a deviation below this too, 200-day moving average. So will we get that? What would that look like? That would look like price, if this does kind of break down below this, I would think that the strong likelihood we'll see price action testing down into this $54,000 to $53,000 region. It's not the end of the world if it happens, especially if you're aware that it's a possibility. So let's be aware of these possibilities so we can plan accordingly and realize that this would ultimately just be an incredible washout of those impatient folks. Do not be one of those impatient folks. Now, if you're trading on a 15-minute chart, on an hour chart, and you're day trading and scalping all day long every day, then yeah, short this, sure. Short this and then buy, buy your reversal back in here. But if your strategy has been longer term held, you're looking for that run. You're looking for this run. If you're looking for this run, you shouldn't be considered shorting anything right now. You should be looking for a dip buying opportunity. That's what we need to be paying attention to. And because when we see this data, long-term holders have not started converting over yet. This market has not gotten that strength of the bull market yet that everybody, even these legacy Bitcoin players that are expecting. We see that we're similar to last summer, very similar structure. And then we can also see on this chart right here, Bitcoin local bottom could be in, says Titan of Crypto. A few days ago, Bitcoin fear and greed reached 30. This is what we just talked. So now we're combining the data from this fear and greed index. We're looking at the lack of the long-term holder, ultra long-term holders moving to Bitcoin to exchanges. We see similarity with what we saw last summer, and we do have a slight deviation below short-term holder cost basis. And then now we tie this similar structure in with this fake double top and the fear and greed index coming down to 30. So we're getting a lot of things lining up right now that could be nearing, if it hasn't yet, nearing that final sort of shakeout intention that we can see in markets before that bearish pressure is released and we see that essentially spring-loaded bop, boom, to the upside. What do we see? Push down, a little consolidation, and then the bears just give up, boom, to the upside. Now, what is going on with all this, though? Because we can see the Bitcoin bull run countdown. This ties back into what I shared with you on April 19th with those on-chain data charts. Actually, we can actually even pull it up here, Bitcoin strategy platform, and looking, halving cycle. I talked about this right here. This is where we're at, this pink line. And with all these other lines on here, what you're looking at is the previous cycles and how price action interacted post-halving. Other than this very quick one, this was the first halving back in 2012, 2013, maybe somewhere around that time. But, we still had sideways action and then up. But you look at the last two cycles, which I think will be more like, mostly, we can even look, let's look at this one. I think this is the one we're most like. But look at how sideways price was before it finally started realizing to the upside. And this is being exemplified on this chart right here. Bitcoin bull run countdown. Historically, Bitcoin started its bull run 28 weeks on average after the halving. So now we're looking at the on-chain, we're looking at the price action chart as it relates to the halving and overlaying those. And now we can see this rather than just overlaying them, just measured out here from Titan of Crypto. Okay, this was 14 bars. This was that very quick cycle that we just talked about on that last chart. This was that cycle when we went all the way down here in the 200s, basically, all the way up to 19,000. But even this, remember, we had 8 instances of 26 to 40% pullbacks on the way up. But look at this move here, 39 bars before the bull run truly begins. In this case, one would argue, what is a bull run? In this case, the bull run truly started back here, but this is talking about hitting that previous all-time high. We're kind of in a different territory now because in this case, we see 31 bars between that sideways action and then breaking the previous all-time high. But we're also in this bizarre stance now where we had all this capital, this institutional capital flowing in and this access to Bitcoin through all these Bitcoin spot ETFs. but we're already at this previous all-time high. This question is going to be, how does the market respond from here? So although we want to look at all this because it rhymes, we do have to take into account that the landscape is very different than it has been historically. This is why you need to look at charts regularly and with an open mind, and also plot both bullish and bearish ideas about and theses around what direction the market's going to go. Now, if you look at this chart here from CryptoQuant, it says the ultimate support level for Bitcoin currently is $56,000. Falling below this could lead to a major correction. Now, why is this? Well, this is looking at the Metcalfe price valuation bands using Metcalfe's law. And if we're looking at this, we don't just want to look at a chart and say, that's the story. Look at this chart and say 56,000. Is there anything else in line with that level that we could look at when we're looking at the price action? Well, when we zoom into this, we're on the daily. Let's get to the 8 hour. Actually, let's go back to the daily. We see that 200-day moving average is, look at this, about $57,000, $58,000. 56,000 would be a little bit below that. This would account for essentially like a washout wick, kind of like this. See this large bar, but with a little wick. If we get like another breakdown with the wick down and then sucking back up, but that would put the 56,000 somewhere about right there. If we get the washout to the downside, I'm not convinced that we're going to get a washout to the downside. However, because I have a bullish bias, I have to consider it. We all need to consider it. So let's zoom in on this and look at what that looks like. Because currently we are under this known level of previous support that is now resistance. We had several deviations above, and currently we are fighting to actually have been broken through it. Why do I say that? Because the price action, technically, these are 4-hour candles, has broken above it, closed above it, came down, found support, tried to push up, has broken regionally down below it, but especially on the daily, let's say 4-hour for now. If we get this 4-hour candle in the next hour to, push back up above this, we start building the bullish case to actually stay within this range and push up and try to attack up here in this $63,000 range. And this $63,000 range is very important because when we look at the data here, you can see right here the price as I move here. We can see $63,000 is roughly where all this liquidity also sits. So not only is it a price on the chart from patterns, it's a price liquidity zone directly above us as well. If we zoom in on this, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit further. See this 62 right here, we start into the 63s right in this zone, which means you already would have flushed out some of this liquidity. But the hot zone's right up here, 63,400. And now where did I draw this? Look at this, 63,200. And I mean, this is just going to be relative. 63,2 to 63,4 is roughly right about where we have this price action identified. Also from where we've had bounces, rejections, bounces, etc., bounces. So now we have liquidity data, we have horizontal price action data from where we've seen both support and resistance, and we have a diagonal resistance level that is coming down here from this falling wedge that we did break bearish out of, but this level is still relative to if price does push up into the zone. This is going to be a key area that if we clear, I do think that will be one of those substantiated bullish signals that we likely very quickly come up into this zone and continue that oscillation back up. Ultimately, to then, test out this region up here again. Because now we have this descending trend line. Yes, we have the previous all-time high up here, about 74,000. But then this has now been descending. So as this does potentially clear this 63, 64,000, then we're going to want to watch up here. 70,300 is going to be a zone that we really need to pay attention to, more so than this previous all-time high. I think if we do clear through this, especially on a daily basis, I do think that's a signal that we will be seeing price action move. Nate 707 says, Kelly, I love and appreciate your streams. Thanks for being a G. Nate, I appreciate you. I appreciate any positive comments. I appreciate the viewership. I appreciate each and every one of you just for being here. Whether you drop a like, whether you post a comment, whether you engage, or you just have me on in the background, I'm just honored that I could be a part of your day. And I hope that I'm a part of improving it and bringing in, whether the market's going up or down, I hope that I can be a force for good. I think all of us fall into our own traps sometime. All of us fall into our own traps sometime of being emotional or reacting or letting our ego get involved. And that even happens to me sometimes. And I apologize if it ever does. Or I shouldn't say if, when it ever does. But my goal is to not only just share stuff on the markets, not just share tools and resources, and as unbiased as possible looks on what's going on in the market, but also a force for us all to confront ourselves. We're so quick to confront other people and judge other people and say they're wrong, this is wrong, this is... Screw all of that nonsense. Let's look at the mirror. Let's say, how can I respond better? How can I get back on path faster? How can I affect people? When I enter a room, do they cheer inside because they're excited that my presence is there? Or are they frustrated because I'm a drain on energy for this? None of us should be energy vampires, but some of us and all of us can be sometimes. We need to figure out how we can positively impact people. So shout out everybody. Alexander G says 180 watching, 44 likes. What is going on there? Everybody, let's see if we can, it's the end of the week. Let's break some records with some likes. Everybody show some love. I don't particularly care, likes, dislikes. The reason it's important is because we're out here giving this content away for free every day, sharing it with you here on YouTube. And it's obviously a mechanism in our business with BitLab Academy. Also, if people want to go deeper, they can hop in over at bitlabacademy.com or at that link that we have. I don't know where the thing is right here. Boom. You can join there. But we're here on a daily basis. And if, there's so many other content creators out there. The likes are important because it lets YouTube know you like this content, and then they help support pushing it out on their own to more people. So I appreciate all of you. Let's dive into some charts. Enough talking from Kelly Kellum. We need to let the charts talk and see what's going on here. So coming back over to, I think I went through all my charts. Oh yeah, I got a couple more. So that 56K support is going to be important. But then also we see this trend line that came all the way back here to the end of October. Bounce, bounce, bounce currently. So not only do we have that 200 moving average, we're having that deviation below the short-term holder cost basis, but we also have the price action coming down and testing this beautifully right in that $60,000 region. So there's a lot on the line here that if we do start getting a little bit more of a pullback, it could spell a couple, beyond a couple weeks into a month or two plus of a bit more of a deeper correction. And by the way, deeper correction doesn't always mean price action go down. It could also mean a longer period of time for that narrative between the bulls and the bears to resolve and the bulls take back over. So we have a lot on the line with what's going on here. But one of the things that is to our benefit, if we're wondering, can July be bullish? Well, let's look at this chart right here. This is from Crypto Quant as well. They've been dropping some fire lately. They say miners selling pressure decreases. Now, this is not the children's selling pressure. This is the Bitcoin miners. Selling pressure of miners is weakening, and if all of their selling volume is absorbed, a situation may be created where the upward rally can continue again. So we're seeing the miner withdrawing transactions, boom, dropping. Now, how does this relate to the price action? Well, you see price action was flat. This was last summer. Price action flat. This finally cut down to, a relative low, formed a base, and then we saw price action go up. And then we saw some pressure here and, lack of bullish follow through. This spiked quite high. And then as this came down, settled, found a base, then price went up. What are we seeing right now? Nice move to the upside. Price action relatively flat, slightly descending, pulling back in some ways from 74 down to 60,000 region. But we're seeing this come down, find a base, actually lower than we saw over here. So are we getting that signal soon? What signal are we talking about? I've shared it with you here on a regular basis, but we got to look at it again. This is that selling pressure we're talking about. This random chart that just looks like there's lines on here. Let's pull up hash hash ribbons, we can see that these lines are not randomized. We can delete the BitLab trading stack there. These lines go directly through, vertical lines through where the hash ribbon, the miners turning back on, because now it becomes profitable again. This is the miners shutting off. This is the miners turning back on. I measured from those zones in bull trends. The last 5 times showed an average 121% move to the upside after this happens. We're waiting on this to happen here. This is red because if we zoom in on this, you can really see what's happening. It's a hash rate. How much mining power is out there? When it becomes less profitable, miners that are not doing as well or don't have as good of technology or don't, whatever the reason is, start turning off their machines. And so you get weaker hash rate, which also drives down the difficulty because difficulty goes up. When there's everybody's mining, the difficulty to mine a Bitcoin goes up as well. And when people start shutting off their miners, then over a period, I forget what the difficulty adjustment I think is every week. Bitcoin difficulty adjustment. I think it's every 2 weeks, but yeah, you see, so 7. Yeah, so it's about 2 weeks. Bitcoin difficulty adjustment. 2 weeks, I believe. There's so much data to remember in all this. Every 2016 blocks, or roughly, every 2 weeks, the Bitcoin protocol adjusts its difficulty. This helps regulate miners on network because everybody's on there. It becomes more difficult to mine. When miners start shutting off, then that adjust makes it a little simpler, so it doesn't take as much compute power. So the reason this is because if it's so difficult that it's not profitable, then you have a weaker Bitcoin security layer, which is the miners, right? Thus bringing potential issues to the chain. So when we want to see the difficulty adjusted lower, we want to see the Bitcoin miners come back online. And when we see this happen, we've seen pretty good moves to the upside. So things are brewing here and we are in for it. And we'll talk about Litecoin here in a second as well, but we could see Litecoin, look at this massive sort of move here, symmetrical triangle, breakout into a symmetrical triangle. We've got a little bit of the breakout here riding on a multi-year trend line of support. Are we about to see Litecoin start to break away? Well, let's go ahead and dive in. Let's do some TA. Let's get it. We got 167 people in the room. Shout out to each and every one of you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for being a part of the family. Now, when we're talking about what is going on here, it's all about making sure we can secure our future. And to do that, thank you to our channel sponsor, Arculus. Big love to them. And also remember, self-custody is the best way to make sure you can take care of your future, protect your future, protect your assets. The best crypto cold storage solution out there. 3-factor authentication. Keep your keys off your phone. Have multi-factor ways to do it so you're not just losing a device or, having your keys exploited. This is the best mechanism out there to make sure you can secure your future. Head over to getarculus.com. Use code LAB10 for 10% off. By securing your future, getting Arculus, if you don't have one yet, you're also helping support the channel, letting Arculus know that people are seeing what we're sharing with them. Now, let's go ahead and dive into some TA. It is, time is flying today. Looking at what's going on here, I mean, we've got that liquidity above us. We still have room to flush people out to the downside. So be sure that you're not setting yourself up for failure here. But as it stands, we're also waiting on that global liquidity to tick back up. When that does, I think this market is going to absolutely crush. Now, as we're looking, can you use Arculus as a debit card? No, I don't think you can do that yet. But it is, you have the one tap, one tap, easy to swap, buy, trade, store. But it also, you have to use your biometrics, your PIN, and your card. It's honestly, it's the easiest and most secure way to store your crypto. Yeah, so let's go ahead and look at, oh, your wrenches are nice. 2 obedies to that. Shout out. Shout out to all the mods here. I mean, this is the one of the most positive spots in the crypto space. You'll see everybody's here empowering, uplifting. We don't have much chatter back and forth that's negative, and I appreciate each and every one of you. So when we're asking, what's the signal about the potential move that is coming? Well, I've been sharing this chart with you all a lot lately. This is basically over at velodata.app. You could create a free account. It's not sponsored. It's just, I like the tool. Free tool. We need an Arculus hat. Hey man, we can do a little competition to give away some Arculus merch. Let's get this over. Where are we at? We're at 66 likes. Get it over 100 likes today, and I will. We can randomly draw 2 people, and we can send out some merch. Shout out and thank you to Arculus for the channel sponsorship. So we are seeing this prolonged now. It's getting to this. A lot of people are going short. The aggregate premium is negative, meaning a lot of people are going short. And this was ticking back up, but now there's fear coming back in. We see a lot of people going short. This is actually a good recipe for setting up for a bullish reversal. Now, we're seeing the open interest tick up here, and the aggregate premium is growing again, as we can see right here. But at the same time, we also have this sort of bear flag, bear pennant. If we go to, for instance, down to the 4-hour chart, looking at this does not look super bullish just looking at the pattern, right? But some of these setups are there to literally engage your emotions and have this move to the downside to then only reverse. So as it stands right now, this is looking fairly weak, but we're also seeing that a lot of people are going short. So we may get that final sort of sweep to the downside between now and Sunday. We may get what I'd really like to see. Everybody wants to see the markets pump on the weekend. No, I don't want the markets to pump on the weekends. I want the market to dump on the weekend. Why? Because if the market dumps on the weekend, then we have a gap on the CME futures chart, and the price action tends to move back towards the gap. So if the price dumps between, say that today at 8 p.m. Eastern time, if the price dumps between then and Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, then you have a bullish gap that is above the price action that basically the weekend was used to flush out weak hands. And then you have this incentive this liquidity incentive to pull price back up into, a better posture for bullish continuation after that. Now, if the market pumps on the weekend, then we have a gap below us that price needs to come back and typically fill. So we have to be aware of that. Moolah just got added to CoinMarketCap. We are getting set up to pump. Don't miss the pump. Well, shout out to any of you Moolah holders. I haven't really looked into that one. But let's go ahead and look at some TA. I think it's time to look at what's going on. I think you all saw on the chart here, I got Bitcoin, I got Chainlink, I got Polkadot, I got Avalanche, I got Ethereum all on the thumbnail there. So let's definitely look at those projects and see what is going on in this market. So we talked about Bitcoin. Let's go to Ethereum. Ethereum, by the way, shout out to Ethan Smith. Are you in the room, buddy? Ethan Smith pointed out this large rising broadening wedge. And, from just this pattern alone, we can see right here in this sort of 50% median zone right here. Kelly, you should cover Alex too. Great coin. You talking about Alex Labs? Yeah, that one, I've been holding it, but that sucker has been bleeding. But you know what? I don't mind it. But we have this median point here. Price action rallied up. We have the lower high that couldn't get quite past this median point on this broadening wedge here and is now testing back to the lower side of the range here. Let's turn off all the wrong indicators, turn on the right ones. All right, so we're on the 3-day. Let's get into the 4-hour chart. So this is, Bart Simpson pattern. Push up, consolidate sideways, dump back down. And now this is actually setting up for potential bullishness here where we have now this sort of falling broadening wedge. Let's make this a little bit brighter. Boom, like that. So we have this, see how this is angled to the downside? The lows getting lower, 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 but the bulls keep bringing it back up. Right now, this is sitting in an undetermined zone. This wants to be bullish, but currently this cannot even get past this zone. If Ethereum can break beyond this zone, we're looking at a price action testing back up here into the 35.84 sort of mark. And if we could take that out, then likely continuation of the upside. But you have to remember, we have the ETH spot ETF that we're going to get some news around in the next week. Now, with that news, is it going to be, we already had the approval come out a couple weeks ago, but then actually the S1 approvals and the tradable dates, those things are going to have a big impact on what happens with the price. When we look at Bitcoin, you cannot forget that when we got the Bitcoin approval, that was here, January 10th, quick spike up. And then once it actually was traded from this all the way to here, that was 12 days of downward price action, sell the news event. There is a case to be made. As bullish as Ethereum spot ETFs are, it doesn't mean the market is just going to explode from them. It's more likely that we'll get some sort of rise from the news around it, and then a little bit of a sell-off, especially could be expounded upon. It could be highlighted more by if there's a lot, like a huge undervaluation, or a huge, what's the word I'm looking for? Lackluster response and volume from institutions, or, basically the buying of the Ethereum spot ETF on the first 2 or 3 days of after the launch. Bitcoin saw huge appetite very quickly for the Bitcoin spot ETFs. If Ethereum sees little or, vastly under what people are projecting, then that could exacerbate a little bit of sell-off before continuation to the upside. So there's a lot that's riding on the line. Now, this broadening wedge does suggest maybe that narrative I just spoke about is what brings these tend to break bearish, gives us that opportunity for Ethereum. And this is not a bad thing. If you understand what is going on in this market, it's not a bad thing. If we get a sell-off, if there's a lackluster performance on the Ethereum spot ETF, if we get a breakdown, I think Ethereum's going to be around for a long, long time. And I think it's going to be a long, long time. So it doesn't matter if this breaks down, because that gives us further, better, stronger opportunity. And this will likely bring some of the altcoin market down too, but this will give us another opportunity before we see those exponential gains running away in the market. Now, if you don't have dry powder on the sideline, that's okay. Let that be a lesson to yourself to always have some dry powder on the sideline. Sometimes you could just sit on your hands. If we do get that move to the downside, I'd be watching for an opportunity around the $3,000 mark, because this is where this sort of zone is right here. We can see it basically through this zone right here. Bounce, 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 all through here. This is where I'd be looking for really great opportunity if we do get a bit of a sell-off on Ethereum. Now, if we're able to hold, if the sell-off just holds this zone right here, this would be super bullish. Let me see right here. If this sell-off happens and it holds in this region, this basically $3,300 region, this would be effectively retesting this descending trend line on the 4-hour chart, as well as this rising trend line right here that goes all the way back, back in this zone back here. It would say, where is that? October of last year. Now, I'm very bullish on everything that's happening in the market right now. I'm not going to worry about another potential small washout. If we get it, let's take advantage of it if that happens. Now, we do see some things that were performing well this morning, but let's go ahead and take a look at how they are doing now. Link had the bit of a breakout. This is that falling broadening wedge, that pattern we talk about. Rising broadening wedge tend to break down. Falling broadening wedge tend to break up. So we have the falling broadening wedge, and what do we get? We have this, even if you don't want to see that falling broadening wedge, you can just look at the trend line, descending resistance. Well, we've broken out of that, came down, found support, and pushed up. Where? Right into the middle of the double order block that we have here on the BitLab trading stack that showed us this is going to be an area, a magnet for price action and potential for somewhere that we could butt our head against before, if we are going to continue up. Before now, right now, what do we see? We see, if you look at it on the 6 hour or the 4 hour, this looks a bit like a bull flag. Now you have to be a little careful here, because if this is a bull flag, the target on this would be, up here. Look at this, right at this previous top, 1524. But if you get a little bit more granular and zoom in on the chart, this looks also like a double top. So there's a lot of mixed signals right now. There's going to be some hesitation in these markets, I think, until we get a little clarity about what's happening with ETH, and then letting that sell the rumor, sell the news, all that kerfuffle stuff. I think as we push beyond July 4th, once we push into July 7th, once we push around July 12th, I think that's when we're going to start seeing true resolution for things to the upside. Now, it could be wrong. That's fine if I am. But that's my idea about what's happening in this market, because we also see, not only does this potentially look like a bull flag on larger time frames, 6 hour, you see, on the smaller time frames, it looks like a double top. But in addition to that, we came out of a falling, broadening wedge into now creating a rising wedge, which is also bearish. So we're getting these mixed patterns back and forth answering each other, because the market's in a consolidation phase and everybody's trying to battle. Is it going to be a battle for the bulls, that this is accumulation? Or is this a battle that the bears are going to win out and this is distribution, meaning we might have a lower price moving lower? As it stands right now, I'm still leaning bullish on all this, but I'm not ruling out a little bit of a washout. Shout out to the Museum of Corruption. That would be my birthday week, he said. And I consider that my secondary birthday week. July 14th is the date many, many years ago that I broke 22 bones. I had 70 plus surgeries. Was in a coma for a month, hospital for 3 months, but then in and out of the hospital all the time, casting crutches for 8 years. And that all happened July 14th. So I consider that my second birthday, because I lived, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Not living, but that accident itself, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it put life into perspective. And I remind myself of that regularly. Now, as we look at Chainlink, again, I think it's severely undervalued. But that does not mean it has to go up, up, and away right now. We're battling with this narrative, especially also with what's going on with ETH. So let's be a little patient here, because we have broken out potentially, but it is looking a little weak on that breakout because of the shape that this has created. Now, if we're able to break through this order block zone at 1465, 1475, this region, then I'm looking for price action to come up here into the 15s and then continue. But I do think we're going to have a little bit of hesitation and some chop on some of the things that happen. Sufficient enough. Have I ridden since that happened? Yeah, I got in another accident in Thailand and ended up in the hospital in Bangkok for a month, and then a hospital bed for 6 months after that in wheelchair. And everybody said, "Why'd you ride again?" I can't believe, well, I was living in Thailand. The only way you could get around was a scooter. I was on a little island. But let's continue on. We got to wrap this out here soon. Avalanche came down beautifully, tapped our zone, pushing up. We're on the 1 hour chart. So let's see, 4 hour chart. We talked about this yesterday. Is this still today? Friday. Yeah. So we talked about this right here when the price action pushed up, broke out. This is what, if everybody's talking about, you hear people talk about confirmation. A breakout confirmation is this. You get the rejection, slight pullback, and then now you actually break through this line. Now, the smart people that make money in this market consistently over time, they see this break. That's not the trade signal. The trade signal is, hey, pay attention. Boom. Okay, we did confirm the bulls are coming in to defend this level. And then on this move up, that's your confirmation. This is the breakout confirmation. And we talked about this yesterday. The next target, where did we draw the box? Boom, right here. Look at where the price action went up into, rejected inside of it, found support on the bottom side of it, now testing the upper side of it. We have been nailing this together. How many of you have been trading out, taking advantage of some of these positions on AVAX? I know I've been holding long since February 7th. Haven't really been making moves on this particular coin because I think this, I'm long-term holding this one. Now on Avalanche, if we can hold this zone and not break down, then we may be seeing a move up here fairly soon, the 30, 44 sort of range. However, if we get a little bit of that chop, like we just talked about, then there's something that could be brewing. And that is this shoulder right here, this big ass head right here. And then look at where the order block is right here. See this order block right there? It gives us stand to reason. Remember, price action tends to go to these liquidity zones. If AVAX does that and pulls back into the zone, unless we break all the way back down, we could be forming this inverted head and shoulders, which is further sign that we're going to get a move back up and take back out this trend line and start that rise to the upside. David Lee Luthan says, chop suey. That's right. Let's see where we're at. We are at 90 likes. Oh my God, I wrecked my bike in Indonesia, came around a corner, hit my front brake and absolutely, hey, you know what? They call it, in Thailand, they call it the Thai tattoos because all the farang, all the expats, everybody traveling, and at some point in their visit, everybody ends up with a bandage on from getting a Thai tattoo, which is road rash. All right, let's continue on here. We got a couple more things to look at. Dot. We talked about this zone for quite some time. We did lose it. This is yesterday. We talked about this yesterday, how the price action, the price action lost this zone and now was forming a bit of a wonky, Hashimoto or Quasimodo head and shoulders. And then what do we get from this zone? Measure that move. And what do we get? We had the price action essentially actualize what we charted yesterday and now is waiting potentially to have the move to break from here, which would signal the next level we're watching is, look, we have a double order block zone right here. Again, these automatically print on the chart. It's part of the BitLab trading stack. Just a reminder, you can get involved with everything we're doing. Head over to lab.bitlabacademy.com. That is where you can sign up right here. You get involved in our Discord. And then as soon as you sign up for this, then you have the opportunity to add, it's 15 days free, right? And then 33% discount for life. And then as soon as you sign up for the Discord, then you have access to sign up for the indicators. If you just want the indicators, you don't need the discount. You don't need any of that. You could just head to bitlabacademy.com/indicators, I believe is the, I'm just typing this from memory. I believe is a link, and it's going to load at some point, I think. Yeah. View are right here. Boom. You can go there and get the indicators if you want to just pay full price, and but you can get them at a huge discount if you get this huge discount if you just go through that link, lab.bitlabacademy.com/deal. Get involved. You can use our indicators. Get in, all this stuff. I've not eaten breakfast yet. I can feel my brain misfiring right now. But dot. It's, what do we see? We see that breakdown, reversal. We are attempting that right now. There's a very real chance here that this is happening because we also have this downtrend that is broken through. This is also a confirmation. We sliced through it, came back, found support at this previous range. Didn't even have to get all the way down to this trend line and pushing up. If we can clear this, we're looking at price into the 679, 680. And then the next level we're really going to want to watch is 732. If we can clear 732, this would be a full, basically equilibrium coming all the way back to the zone, which would indicate we'll likely be pushing higher if that is the case. Alex said he wants to look at Alex. So let's look at Alex Labs. here. Long time been holding this. This is one of those micro caps. And look at this. Massive move up. Massive move back down. If this is something you felt like you missed, and I have to be honest, I have not looked at any fundamentals or updates or anything on this recently. So I don't know if I'll have to look at this after the stream. But it's so long as some major exploit or something hasn't happened that's changed or the whatever, then this might be looking like it's a good opportunity at a lower price. Now, when we look at, there's something else I wanted to show you. What was it? Let's see. Avalanche, Polkadot, Chainlink. We did all those. We did everything. I think that's it, guys. It's a long week. We got a lot of things ahead with the data, with the acknowledgments, with what's happening with Ethereum spot ETF. So let's keep our head on a swivel. Let's realize that this is just boring the life out of you to let this absolutely rocket to the upside. Let's not mess up this opportunity. I love you all. Everybody hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ding the bell. We did not get to 100 likes. So next week, we're going to have to figure out something to give you guys some hats and some other things here from Arculus. Shout out to our channel sponsors. Big love and appreciation to Galactics, to Arculus, to Polkadot. And watch tomorrow for the BitLab Academy stream that I got on projects that could be on your radar. 10:15 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. With that, I love you. I appreciate you. Let's head over to the DGen Alpha stream right now. Let's get in there. Is he even live today? I don't know. He is not, but he is live today. So let's go ahead and refresh this page, and we're going to go straight to the DGen Alpha right now. Let's do redirect. Boom. There, DGen Alpha. Let's head there right now. I love you guys. Adios, muchachos. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for coming. Thank you for always tuning in. BitLab Academy. Join us. See ya.